with this stuff, I don't know. It's kind of for me or a person that has been advocating cultural infiltration. You know what I mean? For the last 10 years, probably over that. I think the importance of it now more than ever is just that. You've seen it accelerate with the authoritarian left and their advocacy and what they particularly want to what they want the world to be and what they want to try to mold the world into. And there's people that are able to stand in their way, but I think tactic wise they had adopted before something that simply was just ineffective, and that was ignoring culture altogether. The power of alternatives is what I wanted to talk about in this segment because I think some people undermine it. I want you to understand that your power as a customer is something that should not be undermined. It's something that should be valued, and it's something that you should come to the realization about. The amount of people who I see who assume that, let's say you have a big company we've been talking about, like Disney, and they assume that Disney has to exist. Like they have to. Like Disney has to exist. They're demoralized. And the reason why I despise people that are demoralized is because oftentimes they try to project that black pill onto someone else. And I don't want that negative energy at all. But as a customer, it doesn't matter how big or small the company is, at least with entertainment. The reason why entertainment is I'm not going to call it unique, but it's one of those, as powerful as it is, it's the easiest to combat. The easiest. Reason being is because entertainment is not something in any regards, though I would argue that it's important. It's not something that, at least in Disney's case, they don't provide anything that you need, as in they don't provide anything that you have to consume in order to live. Okay? They don't. And with that being said, they're the easiest, and companies as such that are in the entertainment sector are the easiest to detach from. Now, I will say this. I totally recognize how people definitely if we even move to a more free or more prosperous nation, you would have more in the entertainment sector, people trying to entertain certainly each other, certainly when they don't have to worry as much about the government. This is an important thing. Art is important, and I'm not, of course, of all people, that's the complete opposite of what it is that I'm saying. It's not like I'm saying it's not important. What I'm saying is when it comes to rewriting your focus, your dollars, your enthusiasm, your aspirations for that matter, you can pull the plug on Disney and your life is going to be okay. Now, the power of alternatives is that, yeah, they provide certain services that you look at as the best of the best, okay? Maybe not in content, but in production. So they produce these different aspects. They have control now of things that they never, they just now own the properties. So they get to put out material based upon that. So many stuff, it expands across different franchises. It expands across just so many different things. So my thing is acknowledging that, and customers en masse saying, we're done with this company. And alternatives, of course, are being allowed to flourish. There's an opportunity there. You heard me say it many, many times. Just being an alternative isn't good enough. Make sure you're good at it. Make sure you're competitive. Either way, as the customer, which no matter if you are a competitor, you're still a customer of something. So this applies to me just as much as it applies to anybody else. The fact that you can detach yourself from this entertainment sector, like a Disney, right, where you have to, for the most part, go out of your way to consume it, be it in their parks, be it in their forms of media. Once folks realize, and this is the key, to getting people to realize how much power it is that they have. And of course, you're seeing more competitors pop up. So I don't think that's as much of the problem. The customers, though, have to come to that realization. Some of it's addiction, and we've talked about that before. Some people just, I have to watch the latest Star Wars. I have to watch the latest Marvels. Like, they have some addiction problems there. But for those of you who are just right there, you know it's fucked. You know Disney is ideologically opposed to anybody that is remotely like you or values liberty. Tactically, if people en masse said, we're not going to fund Disney anymore, Disney is fucked. Some people would say, well, they control so much. So what? They don't control anything that people need. They control things that people desire for the most part, but they don't control anything that people need. So once the customers say, okay, I don't have to watch have a Disney Plus account. I don't have to go watch the latest Marvel or Star Wars or Pixar or whatever. I don't have to watch any of those movies. I don't have to consume. The well will run dry. And I don't know how Disney works. Like, I know Sony has a bunch of fucking cash, like, lined up out there in Japan. But I don't know how, either way, they have to start reaching into, let's say, the reserves. But at some point, if they're not going to be able to produce like they do now, once folks stop funding them, it's not a rocket science. This isn't something that is uber complicated. I think people have made it complicated because some people have tried to justify their addiction. The other hand is people want to protect the status quo. Even, you got to watch guys, man. Because even people that claim to be against all of this shit, the status quo they benefit from. So some people would love for it to exist as it exists right now. Of course, people that support this nonsense, but others as well, because once the status quo changes and let's say Disney isn't on top or any of these brands and alternatives come up and, you know, we get some decentralization, on the other side, it's going to look a lot different. And some people are going to be out of jobs. But I welcome that, of course. You should, too. I think you should. So, yeah, part of it's getting hold of your addiction, but also understanding the power it is that you have as a customer, especially customers en masse. Disney is not anything without the customers. They're not shit. You can talk about the way the government has given them incentives to exist in certain areas. That's irrelevant. It's not relevant, but it's one of those things that any event that the customers defunded them, they just cannot exist in the capacity in which they exist now. Period. That's not an opinion. That's just a fact. They don't provide anything that people need. They just provide things that people want and desire. So understand, as a customer, you have a lot of power. Do not let these black-pilled, demoralized clowns who think that, oh, well, it's just all going to come crashing down. They're going to control so much or they're going to have so much influence. There's nothing it is that we can do. Fuck those fucking guys. They should be mocked, shamed, laughed at, and then told to get their bitch ass in the corner and shut the fuck up when grown folks is talking. If you demoralized and you don't think anything can be done, get your bitch ass out the way. Keep your negative energy away from folks like ourselves, but get your punk ass out the way. And you sit in the corner and cry while those of us who know that something can be done about it will do something about it. You're a customer. You're powerful. And these companies, just because they've existed for decades upon decades, does not mean they always have to exist, at minimum, in the capacity it is that they exist right now. And that's this mega corporation. They may get minimized in some way. However, they can be combated. It just requires the customers to adjust and act accordingly. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.